The Mowers Club, thanks to Winghouse, we're in the final hour, our scope, and this is where we get into the nitty-gritty of season 2025. We did a little one reason why on the fly. There's a little rhyme for you Saturday morning for the Broncos season earlier in the show. So me and Barney did the Broncos, Wars and Titans last week.
Yep.
We got your very short, sharp opinion on the Broncos for this year, but now we're focusing in on the Dragons, the Raiders, and the Finns.
Okay.
So we're going to spend a bit of time on each of those. The question again, just a reminder, one reason why the team can make the top 8, and one reason why they can't make the top 8. So this is one reason why. So we'll kick off with the Dragons. They've been in a lot of headlines with the signings that they've, two ways, players that they've let go. The biggest being two very big names, Zach Lomax, Ben Hunt are the two obvious ones. Jack Bird's obviously made way as well. But their gains, very interesting. Clint Gutherson, Damien Cook. They just signed Emre Gula throughout the week as well, which is a really interesting one. Bolsters up their pack. He was in a real logjam of middle forwards there at the Raiders. So it sounds like he's made the move to guarantee himself some minutes. I think it's a good move. For both parties, yeah. Val Holmes and Lachlan Ilias is the one we might chat a fair bit about as well. Obviously, such an important spine player. But what do you make of the gains for the Dragons there? Elder statesmen, a few of them, but with that comes plenty of experience.
Yeah, if we'll go into are we just going to roll straight into the reasons why?
100%. Go.
The one reason why Flano's got his squad, he's developed his squad. Last year, he walked in, he would have had relationships with a few of those players due to being assistant coach previously about 2 or 3 years before his time with Manly. He was at the Dragons. He would have, gone into the club with an idea of sort of, how he viewed them moving forward long term. He's had a look. He wanted to reconstruct the squad. He's brought in a whole lot of leadership and veteran experience. And I think that's going to serve them well. Guys that are just going to lead by actions as well. And the prime example was set early on. I don't know if you've seen this video that was circling on socials. Gutho goes straight up to him day one. They're running a hill down there in the South Coast, and he goes, "Flano, watch this. I'm going to go win this." And that's the sort of players he's looking for. I had a joke about it on socials for Gutho to sort of come in without even knowing the squad off the back of carrying some injuries himself last year, and to go, all right, I don't care who's a part of this. Fitness is his bread and butter.
It is, yeah. It's his
and
number one.
He went out there and he set the standard, and that's a big part of why him and Cookie have been named co-captains, because that's the way that they're gonna play their footy week in, week out.
I think a lot of people will probably tip them to be down the wrong end of the ladder, and I think they might be leading the way in terms of wooden spoon favouritism or thereabouts, somewhere down there. We'll have a look at that. But I just can't see. You've got Shane Flanagan, far too experienced. He's a hard ass. He's going to get every minuscule bit of effort out of whatever side he's got. But just those names that you mentioned, Gutho, Cook, and Val to an extent. I know they've lost a bit of experience as well, but I can't see them only winning, the 6 games or 7 games, what it is. It's going to get you a spoon. Making the 8, just on the cusp.
The perfect thing with those 3 guys along with Flano is people were starting to doubt them at this point of their career as well. Can Flano get the job done as a coach at the Dragons? He proved a lot of people wrong. Gutho was captain of a team that was underwhelming at Parramatta last year, playing injured. People were starting to think, is Gutho getting to the back end of his career? Val, he had moments last year, but it was probably not a career year for Val last year, even though the Cowboys went well as a team. And Cookie, he had a rough season with the Rabbitohs. So all 3 of those guys that they've brought in are character guys, and they've got a lot to prove at this part of their career. So they'll be good for the younger group, because I think Flano's trying to build something, and he wants to blood a lot of the youngsters down there in the South Coast. I reckon that's something that they've been missing at the Dragons. Got a great nursery in the South Coast, and there just hasn't been that representation of it coming through the grades. You go out and get a bit of senior leadership, you bring it in, you show these young guys, set standards, show them how to train, and then hopefully in the 2 or 3 years you'll see the best of the Dragons. But if you'd be silly to be having to play on the Dragons being around the spoon, because I reckon there's too many proud footballers and there's a proud coach in Flano for 2025. So they'll do better than what a lot of people are tipping to them to be.
Tell you who could flourish having Gutho there is Terrell Sloan to a wing. I think he's probably just a little bit too early in his career to throw him at fullback. He could absolutely fly on a wing, and that could be a little cheeky throw at the stumps for maybe a little top try score or something.
I don't hate that.
As I said, I can't with the experience that they've still got. Yes, they've lost some, but they brought in a stack. Shane Flanagan as coach. I think they're winning. They're winning something like 10 games thereabouts. So it's not spoon. I don't think they're playing finals though. They're a really hard team to try and get a read on. I think they're around that 10th to 12th sort of range for me. But that's enough games for Sloan to put up some big numbers.
Depends if he's on the left edge too. All right, so
True.
Doing something, if you're looking at the players that we've named before, Val, Murray Taulagi have had good years up at the Cowboys playing on the left edge. Gutho loves going to his left. Think Micah Sevo.
Yep.
And Sevo and Sloan himself, he was playing fullback and in contention for try scorers last year with sort of just pop. And the modern day winger, can pop up anywhere as well through yardage through the middle of the field. So not a bad shout. If Tyrell Sloan's on the left, I like that play even more.
And he's won the Joel Kane hybrid model of just get him into the middle of the field when you've got tight defenders, because he's quick and he moves like a gazelle scope.
So the thing with the Gutho and Sloan combination is important for a couple of reasons. Everything that you sort of want a little bit more from Sloan, he's obviously super talented, got attacking prowess. Defensively and communication from an outsider looking in looks to be the biggest issues with Sloan and his progression into first grade. That's Gutho's bread and butter.
Yeah.
So to sit behind him or be playing on the wing and seeing the way that the effort that Gutho puts in defensively and how he communicates is going to be huge for the future of Sloan at the club at the Dragons, because I think he still is the long-term play there.
Yeah. You got to make it, not missing it.
Oh. Missing it just. I think it's going to be a similar season. I still think they're a year away. They've still got a little bit of noise around some plays that's going to be unsettling like they had last year. The Frankie Mullo situation's not ideal. I think he's still trying to figure out his roster, and I think it'll be more complete next year. So I have them just missing.
Beautiful. They are. They're such a tricky team to try and work out, because on paper it does look okay. Have your say as well. 0457736736. Text in. Give us a reason why and why they can't make the 8. That's the Dragons. Or even call in. Even better. If you're a Dragons fan, how are you going to go this year? 1300 01 1170. Time to move to the Finns scope. Another very, very tricky team to try and get a bit of a read on. It's the post-Wayne Bennett era. All the chat has been, look at how Wayne Bennett's left clubs in the past. This is a completely different scenario to how he's left other clubs. So I'm almost going to completely ignore that. New coach in Christian Wolf, who has largely been... We spoke to Jolly Gould last week on the show, and we sort of floated with him. He's basically been the coach there.
Yeah.
While he hasn't been official, he has been running the side. So that's going to be a smooth transition. He obviously knows the players know him. So that can only be a good thing. The gains. Daniel Saifidi, Junior Tupou as well from the West Tigers.
Yeah, that's a good signing.
But a lot of experience they've lost in their pack with the retirement of Jesse Bromwich.
Yeah.
That's probably the big concern for me. Reason why? Reason why not?
Reason why they've got a lot of talent in their team. And I reckon they've got the most underrated spine in the team. Or the spine that can improve the most in 2025. Love Hammer. I reckon if I was to... I've talked about Hammer glowingly before, but in terms of an outside back with projections and the versatility to play in the backs, Hammer would be right up. If I was starting a franchise from scratch, Hammer would be right up there for me. Got to love Isaiah Katoa, and he's had some good moments and then some disappointing moments at the back end of seasons now and back-to-back seasons, but still super young.
Yeah.
Jeremy Marshall-King's key. He is a top-tier hooker if he can stay healthy.
Just needs continuity, doesn't he?
But he's had lingering injuries. Games. And Cody Nikorima is a nice vet there to have to settle down Isaiah Katoa, and has probably played his best footy at the Dolphins as well. Yep. So they've got talent across the board. Outside backs that are strong and powerful, and Herbie Farnworth, Jack Bostock, Asako. Forward pack that you'd love to play with. Tom Gilbert's going to feel like a new free agent signing for them after missing all the last year.
Yep.
I think he's a representative. I know he's already played for Queensland, but I had him pegged to represent Australia at the back end of the season. He's going to be huge. He's going to be huge in for him. And then I guess the one thing that would be disappointing, that sort of holding them back from taking the next step, is having Flegler, not the health in and around Tom Flegler.
Due back somewhere mid-season. There
isn't
really a date on it, which is never a good thing.
Yeah, and if he was in the team, I'd be even higher on him.
Yeah.
Because he is a premier front row, premier middle. But they've still got some nice pieces in there. I love the emergence of young Max Plath last year.
I'm glad you said his name, because I had it noted down.
He's one of my favourites.
To get your 2 cents. He's an absolute gun, isn't he?
Yeah, and then if you
had to try and sort of design a bit of an old school footballer, but still suited to today's game as well. He's the prototype.
Yeah, especially through the middle now with the way the game's going, smaller forward packs, the Max Plaths of the world, the Ruben Cotters. Just love those sorts of players now. They get through a load of work, low centre of gravity, find their front, defend well. He's going to be thereabouts in Origin contention this year for sure, Maxi Plath. But there's so much to like about the Dolphins. The big thing is, and you mentioned you can't, you said, you don't want to look at it with regards to this team and moving forward because of Wolfie, but still, when you follow in the footsteps of a guy like Wayne, it's not necessarily that you're a bad coach. It's just the reaction that you get from players and I guess the reaction week to week and how they take criticism from whoever may follow Wayne compared to Wayne himself. It's just completely different.
Yeah.
Setting the standards, having the same things that you try to set at the club is different when it comes from Wayne or a guy like Craig Bellamy or even now Ivan compared to anyone else. Like it's completely different. So that's going to be, I guess, a huge task for Wolfie and the coaching staff at the Dolphins, even though he would have been controlling a lot of the things day to day and how they played. That's going to be the biggest test for the Dolphins.
Yeah. There is so much upside in that side, and any team that's running around with hammer in it, you're very brave to bet against them. There's just a couple of things that potentially wary about. Katoa's obviously going to be a gun long term, still so young. Defensively as well, I think a lot of teams probably worked him out at the back end of last year. So you want to see improvement in that regard. I'm sure that'll come naturally just with time as he matures. And then the other question is who's his halves partner. Looks like Jakey Averillo's probably going to get the start there at least.
Yeah, I've heard he's been mixing in it at 5'8", Jack Bostock's been moving into the centres, and Junior Tupou's been spending some time on the wing, the new recruit. I reckon they're going to try to find a way to get Tupou involved, so that could be it.
He's another one. When he's got ball in hand, he's damaging ball runner, so they're going to get that. They're going to get good starts to their sets out of yardage. Again, defensively, probably a bit of has had issues in the past, but again, they get all those things right. There is so much upside in that team. Mark from Crestmead, he agrees with you, Scope, to an extent. Morning Mowers, the Dolphins season will depend on how long the Toms, Flegler and Gilbert spend on the field.
Yeah, good shout.
Yeah, that's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, specifically Gilbert because, Flegler.
Yeah.
Gilbert spent a bit of time out now, over a year, and he also got injured in that Origin game as well, which he missed a lot of 2023.
Yep.
Pardon me. But yeah, those two guys will be huge.
Was that the rib going there? Yeah. He's had to turn his mic off. He's on the floor.
Every now and again, like this hiccup comes through, like a little bit of indigestion.
So we'll set the scene. If you just tuned in, so he's pulled on the boots again at the Knights Premier League last week, and apparently someone has absolutely rattled the rib cage of Scope, and he's done a cartilage. Yeah. And every time there's a little hiccup or a little burp comes along, when he walks past, he went to the Brasco before in the last break, and you're almost limping with pain for the rib cartilage, Scope.
I'm doing it tough for the Mowers, Shawnee. Just turning up. Still got a job to do.
This is what they don't see behind the scenes. Yeah. That's why you have to tune into the YouTube version to see what Scope's going through here, because it is pain. All right, that was the Dolphins. Keep having your say on the text line, 0457 736 736.
Have you seen the text coming through from the great man himself? Sugar, sounding good, lads. 100% on Sloan. Top try scorers a bet.
I knew Sugar would be all over that. In fact, you know what? He might have told me that.
Okay,
I might have pinched that from him. Who knows? But his ability to find a top try scorer at enormous odds.
Yep.
There's no other man in this country that can do it.
Did we? I remember at the back end of the season, we all started to get on the Alofiana Canberra train. Big man Willie Mason picked it early pre-season last year.
Did he?
So I'm interested to see who the big fella's got for us this year in 2025.
And he's a former top point scorer of the NRL himself. He's found a few of those at big odds.
Yep.
He's still dining out on his Jermaine Azarko pick from a couple of years ago. Shout out to you, Joel Kane. Thanks for listening. The Raiders, Scope. They're our next team.
Yep.
We have to break down one reason why. Now, I've been called the Raider hater for numerous years now. It's not the case. What have you got to say about the Raiders in season 2025? Very, very young-looking team, Scope.
Just typical Raiders. Ricky's ushering a new, I guess, a new leadership group down there. They've now, in the last 2 years, probably lost about 1,000 games, similar to the Roosters. Jack White moves on the year before with a wealth of experience. They lose Elliot Whitehead to retire. We've gone over to the Catalan Dragons, which was almost like a bit of an early retirement when you go over to the south of France later in your career. Kick the feet up, drink a bit of wine.
Speaking from a bit of experience.
Speaking from experience. And Jordan Rapinoe going off to Hull FC. But then you've got guys like Joseph Tarpany, new club captain, taken over. The back row, I'm having escaping his name. Hudson Young. Hudson Young is going to take on more of a senior role there. I love that they were able to keep big Corey Horsburgh after all that noise at the back end of the season. Big Red was fired up.
He was.
But they got that sorted, and him and Ricky, very rarely does Ricky go off a guy.
Yeah.
And then he comes back and they circle back and they figure it out. And then he goes off him again. And then I thought it was huge that they were able to keep Horsburgh happy and that he didn't move on, because I rate him highly, and I think he'll be huge for him moving forward.
Probably says a lot around the Emre Gula move as well.
And that.
He probably saw the writing on the wall. Them two are probably fighting for the same spot, right? There was that one spot that they might have been fighting for.
Yeah,
Corey's got the
I reckon the frustration with Corey is he thinks, off the back of a really good campaign in 2023 where he played Origin, he's a starter. He wants to be. He's the sort of personality that wants to be the alpha through the middle. So when I'm looking at their pack, you've got Joseph Tarpany. I reckon this is Big Papa's last season. Big Joseph Papali'i.
Yep.
So Horsburgh wants to start. They had that Morgan Smithies through the middle who did a really good job for him and sort of took Corey Horsburgh's spot because he was the lock, remember? And when Corey missed some time. So they've still got a tough, gritty team. Ricky's coaching them. It's going to be us against the rest of the world mentality.
You just know it.
Which suits them well, and he's developing some good youngsters down there.
Yeah.
Xavier Savage, I've tipped him to play Origin in the next couple of years. I think it could be as early as this year, or at least I think Billy will have him a part of camp. Matt Timmickle had a bit of a down year. I like what I've seen from KO Weeks and he had to swap between 6 and fullback.
That's right.
I think he might get an opportunity to be more settled at fullback this year. So there's young emerging outside backs for them, and still enough experience through the middle, and some top-tier players in Joseph Tarpany, Horsburgh, Hudson Young. Look, those guys have played representative footy, so they'll be hard to beat down there in Canberra. Well, they need to fix down there in Canberra because they were 50%.
That's been their issue, right? Yeah, they need to make that a winning record first and foremost.
They were 50% last year down at Canberra, which is unheard of Canberra. Normally they're harder to get down there, but they actually did a better job playing away.
How do you think that the mindset of Ricky, and it's basically been his mindset regardless of the quality of side, like everyone that were making grand finals, it was always back against the wall, us versus the world. How does it go, though, when you've got such a young team, particularly in such key positions, that sort of mindset? Feels like it works more so. You've got a few older guys around the club that have been around the traps that sort of get it, to go into the grind a bit, which is Ricky's style. Does it work for the younger brigade?
It'll eventually work because he'll
make it work.
Yeah, he'll bang it into him.
Or your Gonski.
Well, you got Fogarty there too in a key position.
That's right.
People and Ricky was saying this all last year. People didn't give that injury enough respect. Like they were travelling at the start of the year, playing really good footy. Fogarty misses some time, but Ricky was saying because it's down in Canberra, no one really talks about it enough. Everyone was talking about the Reynolds injury and the Mitch Moses injury. No one was giving Fogarty enough credit, and it's a great point from Ricky. He was in really good nick, kicking well. They're playing a really specific style of footy too. They weren't turning the ball back over, and they had young talented players in Weeks and in Strange. So to have that steadying influence, he's going to be huge. You got a steadying influence in Tarpany through the middle, so you still got enough there, and they'll pass that on. And within the next couple of years, guys like Strange and Savage and Hudson Young, they'll pass it on to the next Raiders, and that's how it keeps ticking over, because it's a struggle for Ricky to recruit players down there.
Yeah, it is.
Just, pure, not because of the team, not because of Ricky, it's the location. Like, people aren't stoked to go to Canberra, and that's...
you ever heard Missile's thoughts on the nation's capital?
Yeah, he's not high on them. He's not high on on the capital, is he? And look, it's obviously the weather plays a huge part in it. Freezing cold temperatures compared to if you get an opportunity to play on the beaches at Manly or Brisbane or Gold Coast. So Ricky's he's developing Canberra Raider players from a young age down there, and that's what will serve them well in 2025.
Just one quick one for me on the Raiders. Last year, they played in 10 games that were decided by 6 points or less. They won 8 of those, 8-2 record in close games. Now, you might say, yeah, they're good in tight, close games. That's the way they like to play. A lot of those line ball margins come down to luck. And if that goes 50-50 or even a little bit against you, negative for and against, then all of a sudden you're in the mid bottom of the 8 very, very quickly. So that's my only concern. That's my only concern. All right, that was the Raiders, Dolphins, and the Dragons. While they can't make the 8, we're still going to chat plenty more rugby league coming up. This is the Saturday Morning Miles Club with the Coal Miner and Scope.